Whoa. Whoa. Hello. Hey. How are you? Alright, that's good. Hey, I'm Drew. Welcome along. Welcome to the discussion. Alright, so shall we sacrifice another sacred cow in this absurd debate between these stupid Christians and stupid atheists? I think that'd be a good idea. After all, what better thing to do than to upset this absurd debate that never ends, right? Let's keep in mind that the British devise situations where these are permanent conflicts that just go on and on and on and on and on. And that's the way the British Empire has always operated. It's keeping conflicts going forever and ever and ever. Right? That's divide and conquer. So let's quit playing these games, right? And to do that, in the discussion, I thought I'd bring my old friend Leibniz into the discussion, because you can't leave him out. It's impossible. Now, Leibniz, of course, was a true scientist in the truest sense of the word of what a scientist is. Because the image that TV in the movies and so forth portrays is Spock, right, from Star Trek. God, what a fucking stupid TV show. Anyways, Spock, right, this logical, emotionless guy out there collecting facts, right? Anyways, study up, right? Because we're going to talk about his investigation of metaphysics. Alright? Because, anyway, you'll see. Let the debate begin. Metaphysics, concerning the divine perfection and that God does everything in the most desirable way. The conception of God, which is the most common and the most full of meaning, is expressed well enough in the words, God is an absolutely perfect being. The implications, however, of these words fail to receive sufficient consideration. For instance, there are many different kinds of perfection, all of which God possesses, and each one of them pertains to Him in the highest degree. We must also know what perfection is. One thing which can be surely affirmed about it is that those forms or natures which are not susceptible of it to the highest degree, say the nature of numbers or figures, do not permit of perfection. This is because the number, which is the greatest of all, that is, the sum of all the numbers, and likewise the greatest of all figures, imply contradictions. The greatest knowledge, however, and omnipotence contain no impossibility. Consequently, power and knowledge do admit of perfection, and insofar as they pertain to God, they have no limits. Whence it follows that God, who possesses supreme and infinite wisdom, acts in the most perfect manner, not only metaphysically, but also from the moral standpoint. And with respect to ourselves, it can be said that the more we are enlightened and informed in regards to the works of God, the more we will be disposed to find them excellent, conforming entirely to that which we might desire. Okay, number 2. Against those who hold that there is in the works of God no goodness, or that the principles of goodness and beauty are arbitrary. Therefore, I am far removed from the opinion of those who maintain that there are no principles of goodness or perfection in the nature of things, or in the ideas which God has about them, and who say that the works of God are good only through the formal reason that God has made them. If this position were true, God, knowing that He is the author of things, would not have to regard them afterwards and find them good. Such as the Holy Scriptures witness. Such anthropological expressions are used only to let us know that excellence is recognized in regarding the works themselves, even if we do not consider their evident dependence on their author. This is confirmed by the fact that it is in reflecting upon the works that we are able to discover the one who wrought. They must therefore bear in themselves his character. I confess that the contrary opinion seems to me extremely dangerous and closely approaches that of recent innovators who hold that the beauty of the universe and the goodness which we attribute to the works of God are chimeras of human beings who think of God in human terms. In saying, therefore, that things are not good according to any standard of goodness, but simply by the will of God, it seems to me that one destroys without realizing it all the love of God and all his glory. For why praise him for what he has done if he would be equally praiseworthy in doing the contrary? Well, where will be his justice and his wisdom if he has only a certain despotic power? If arbitrary will takes the place of reasonableness, and if, in accord with the definition of tyrants, justice consists in that which is pleasing to the most powerful. Plato, huh? Yeah. Actually, no, Socrates, excuse me. Besides, it seems that every act of willing supposes some reason for the willing, and this reason, of course, must precede the act. This is why, accordingly, I find so strange those expressions of certain philosophers who say that the eternal truths of metaphysics and geometry, and consequently the principles of goodness, of justice, and of the perfection, are effects only of the will of God. To me, it seems that all these follow from his understanding, which does not depend upon his will any more than does his essence. Alright, so that's the first two chapters of his discourse on metaphysics. Alright? So okay, we'll do number 3 and stop there because that's a good place to start. Number 3. Okay, sorry about that. There was an interruption. Number 3, against those who think that God might have made things better than he has. No more am I able to approve of the opinion of certain modern writers who boldly maintain that which God has made is not perfect in the highest degree, and that he might have done better. It seems to me that the consequences of such an opinion are wholly inconsistent with the glory of God. Oh, he puts a Latin quote here, and I'll put the translation. I can't read Latin, so I'll just put the writing here and then put the translation. I think that one acts imperfectly if he acts with less perfection than he is capable of. To show that an architect could have done better is to find fault with his work. Furthermore, this opinion is contrary to the Holy Scriptures when they assure us of the goodness of God's work. For if comparative perfection were sufficient, then in whatever way God had accomplished his work, since there is an infinitude of possible imperfections, it would always have been good in comparison with the less perfect. But a thing is little praiseworthy when it can be praised only in this way. I believe that a great many passages from the divine writings and from the Holy Fathers will be found favoring my position, while hardly any will be found in favor of those of these modern thinkers. Their opinion is, in my judgment, unknown to the writers of antiquity, and is a deduction based upon the too slight acquaintance which we have with the general harmony of the universe and with the hidden reasons for God's conduct. In our ignorance, therefore, we are tempted to decide audaciously that many things might have been done better. These modern thinkers insist upon certain hardly tenable subtleties for they imagine that nothing is so perfect that there might not have been something more perfect. This is an error. They think, indeed, that if they are thus safeguarding the liberty of God, as if it were not the highest liberty to act in perfection according to the sovereign reason. For to think that God acts in anything without having any reason for his willing, even if we overlook the fact that such action seems impossible, is an opinion which conforms little to God's glory. For example, let us suppose that God chooses between A and B, and that he takes A without any reason for preferring it to B. I say that this action on the part of God is at least not praiseworthy, for all praise ought to be founded upon reason, which ex hypothesi is not present here. My opinion is that God does nothing for which he does not deserve to be glorified. Okay, so that's a pretty good start right there. That's 3 chapters from Leibniz's Discourse on Metaphysics. Oh yes, and I forgot that his discussion of the whole versus the parts, that comes from Cusa, who was the founder of the Renaissance back in the 15th century. Okay. Oh, by the way, he's the guy responsible for the American Revolution, not Locke, despite all that bullshit on Wikipedia. Okay, so that's it. That's a pretty good discussion. Hopefully a few atheists and a few creationists discover this and read the rest and think about it, right? Yeah, so that's it. Thanks. I'm Drew, and see you later. So rate, subscribe, comment, right? Okay. Thank you. See you later, and keep thinking.